Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. And this is New Music Picks 2026, where I talk about my first impressions of new albums that came out recently. And it's been a while since my last one. I usually do these every week, but I need a little vacation, and been 16 days, I think, since I last posted. So I've got 15 albums to talk about. I do listen to quite a lot of music, and there's been a lot of great stuff that came out at the end of May. So this is kind of wrapping up all the releases that I heard in May that I haven't talked about yet on my channel. And I'll talk about them in my order of preference, starting with one that I actually bought a physical copy of, Devin Townsend and his album Moth. It's actually the first 2026 album that I bought a physical copy of. I've been doing most of my listening on streaming sites. Yeah, I'd go broke if I bought every album that I liked, but this one is particularly special. And I did also order the Periphery album. It just hasn't arrived yet, so I've made 2 purchases this year so far. And as you could tell based on that, I really like this one. This is Devin Townsend's 23rd album. He's a Canadian musician, and it's kind of a progressive metal album, but it's also more of a rock opera, Broadway, musical style, symphonic, classical, epic, avant-garde with ambient influences and all the variety that he brings to his sound. And this, I'm giving my masterpiece tier rating. It's along with Periphery. These are the 2 albums that I've given that rating this year. The 2 that I've really liked the most that I've heard so far. And this is a whole concept album, rock opera. He's been working on it for many years. He performed this whole album live before he recorded and released the album. At least, before he released the album. I'm not sure if he did the live shows before recording it or after. Not actually sure about that. He announced it as a one-time show in the Netherlands with a choir and orchestra to perform this new, never-before-heard rock opera called The Moth. It was an exclusive show. It won't be staged anywhere else in the world. He did end up adding a second date there in the Netherlands since the first date sold out, I believe. So he was financially able to do another one. And The Moth tells the story of the human experience from birth to death, comparable to the transformation of a caterpillar into a moth. It symbolizes the human quest for meaning. It offers perspectives on the fear of death through analogy and narrative. And this description I'm pulling, I forget where I got this from, whether it's from his Bandcamp or something, but I'm kind of quoting it rather than using my own words. But ever since Townsend witnessed large musicals such as Jesus Christ Superstar and Phantom of the Opera in the 1970s, he has seen this project, The Moth, as his calling. And it's been in the making for over a decade. Devin's been building towards it for 30 years. Now, this is one where I watched the recordings of the live show on YouTube before I heard this properly recorded album. You know, people just pull out their cell phones and record it. I think he's also, put up some of the more professionally recorded videos of his live shows of The Moth. It blew my mind watching those. The singles that he released ahead of this album were amazing as well. And I think the album versions of the songs on here are perhaps even stronger than the live versions. So it's currently my album of the year at this time. It's a strong contender for album of the year overall at the end of the year, I think. Though there could be some things coming out that could compete with it. It's a true masterpiece. And I think it's in my top 3 favorite Devin Townsend albums, along with Empath and Deconstruction. It's hard to say where it ranks among those, as he has so many great albums that are close to those in quality for me. He also does have some albums in his catalog that I find really annoying and unlistenable. So if you are new to Devin Townsend, you might have to have somebody who knows his catalog well, like myself or other people, guide you as to which album to start with based on what you like. I like Empath Deconstruction and the Moth, but I like that kind of crazy, over the top, adventurous, cinematic, avant-garde progressive metal with like big orchestrals and lots of variety and weird arrangements. So if you like those kinds of albums, you'll probably like those three Devin Townsend albums. But he has a lot of chill ones. He has a lot more like straightforward metal ones, more accessible. And then he has some of those like ambient noise albums that some of them I find kind of annoying and unlistenable, like Dev Lab and the Hummer. But maybe there's people out there that like that. So your entry point with Devin may vary, and what you like with him may vary, but he's got quite an interesting catalog. He's truly a man with a lot of talent and variety in his tastes, and he masters this grand, epic, cinematic, orchestral, Broadway musical vibe here, while mastering the chunky metal riffs and screams, and bringing his beautiful vocal melodies and soaring operatic vocals, clean vocals. He's just a vocal master, probably my favorite vocalist going right now. His guitar riffs are amazing. The big wall of sound production that he commonly uses is a really cool sound, strong production on the album too. Like I said, on some of his other albums, he gets more chill, more ambient, sometimes even more mainstream, accessible pop rock sounds. You can hear moments of those types of sounds sprinkled in here, but the focus on this album is really the grand, orchestral, cinematic, Broadway musical style mixed with metal. If that sounds good, check out The Moth by Devin Townsend. And I will make my descriptions of the other 14 albums in this video a lot shorter than this, otherwise this will be a super long video. But I really like that one, so I wanted to talk about it. Maybe I'll even do a full-length album review video for it, although I've kind of haven't been doing those as much, as they take a lot more work than just rambling my first impressions. Next, I want to talk about Ellende with their album Through Zero, the 7th album by this American band that's based in Germany now, but originally from the US. Ellende is heavy psychedelic, progressive stoner rock. They've got some doom metal influences, and this one's a near masterpiece tier. I like everything I've heard by Ellende. I still haven't done a full deep dive on their discography, but this album is the best thing I've heard from them so far. It's inspired me to go back and listen to everything they've ever done, so that's next on my listening list, to like go back and listen to every Ellende album that I haven't heard yet, as I'm definitely adding this band to my ever-growing favorite bands list. This is great if you like heavy psych. Check out Through Zero by Ellende. Some moments remind me of Tool, which I really like. Definitely check it out. Next, I want to talk about Psyclops and their album Bound to Burn, Melody of the Martyr. So the last two albums I mentioned came out on May 29th. This one came out on May 22nd. So I've got a mix here of albums that came out on May 29th, May 22nd, and then some other days near the end of May as well. But this one is the second album by this American band, Psyclops, and that's spelled Psyclops. And this is progressive death metal. It's got some stoner rock, some sludge metal influences. I'm putting this in my excellent tier, though I considered maybe putting it in near masterpiece. I do really like it. I hadn't heard of Psyclops before this, but upon listening to this album, I was curious enough to go back, check out their debut. Their debut is more on the raw stoner rock, stoner metal, sludge metal sound. Reminds me of Mastodon. They sound very different on their debut album and the second album. The second album they have is more on the progressive metal side. It's got some death metal sprinkled in. It's got a lot of variety, a lot of changes. It reminds me more of Between the Buried and Me than it does Mastodon. And it's a concept album. It's accompanied by a graphic novel. So it's a very nerdy kind of concept thing that I really like, even though I don't necessarily follow the stories. For some reason, I like albums that have these stories. I feel like I like listening to albums from beginning to end, and I can like hear the narrative arc even if I'm not following exactly what's happening. It feels like you're listening to a movie. And their Bandcamp says this about the story. The story of Bound to Burn, Melody of the Martyr begins in the not-so-distant future where the worst effects of climate change have ravaged the earth. The lands lay barren, starved of precious resources. Methane clouds blanket the atmosphere, unleashing merciless firestorms at will. Humanity stands on their last leg for survival as they carry out the impossible task of holding on to hope in an otherwise hopeless place. But after a rogue explorer defies the social structures they've been bound to and ventures further into the wastelands than anyone has lived to recount, they make a discovery that has the potential to reshape the fate of humanity forever. So, really cool concept, cool album, cool music. I'm mostly into like the music composition and performances and production. I'm not sure how I feel about the female spoken word parts. They're a bit cheesy. The explicit language in it makes it something that I don't really want to listen to around my son, my young son. He's not ready for, don't want him repeating some of the language. But other than that, that's the only real negative I could say here is the spoken word. It's a really strong album, excellent tier, bordering on me considering it a near masterpiece tier. It is a bit short as well, but it's short and sweet and really cool, and there's enough going on that I feel like it's got enough content within. It packs a lot in a short album. I think it's like 33 minutes or something. Next, I want to mention a live recording by Persefone called Persefone on Audiotree Live. That's up on Spotify now. They're a progressive death metal band from Andorra that I really like, and I'm putting this in my very good tier. I love everything Persephone's done. This came out of nowhere for me. It wasn't on my radar until I just stumbled upon it on Spotify a couple days after it came out. Came out on May 29th. So it was a pleasant surprise to see it there. It's a similar vibe to their live album from 2025, but it is shorter. It's only 5 tracks, as it's not really them performing a concert in front of an audience. It's them doing more of like a live session. I don't know if you know those Audiotree live sessions. So I don't rank it as highly as their last live album, but the guitar playing here is amazing. The great blend of between clean vocals and harsh vocals is really well done. I also like when they use the vocoder vocals that remind me a lot of Cynic. Really great. If you already love Persefone, check this out. If you haven't heard Persefone, I don't know if this is the place to start. I'd start with one of their studio albums instead. But if you love the band, definitely check out Persefone on Audiotree Live. Next, I want to mention Paul McCartney and his new solo album, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, his 21st solo album, I believe, if you just count ones with his name, not the ones with Wings. And I know he's done some other collaborative albums and stuff like that, maybe covers and soundtracks. It's hard to count his albums. But it's like a pop rock album with folk influences, like a lot of singer-songwriter, acoustic, but also some rocking moments and even some psychedelic and prog influences. And I'm putting this in my very good tier, though I've considered maybe upgrading it to excellent tier. Of course, Paul McCartney is the legendary former Beatle. He still rocks in his old age. And I'm a bit of a weird Paul McCartney fan in that my 3 favorite albums by him are his most recent 3, including this one. Though my favorite album of his is still Egypt Station from 2018. I think it's because I became a fan of his solo career just before Egypt Station came out. So it was the first release of his that I anticipated. And I love a lot of the songs on it. And then I've been anticipating his new releases since then. I think this one might be my second favorite album by him right now after Egypt Station. And I feel like maybe if I listen to it more, it could rival and surpass Egypt Station as my favorite. Even though Paul's voice has certainly aged, you can hear it. He still performs really well. The songwriting and instrumental performances are solid. My favorite tracks currently are Days We Left Behind, which is my favorite. It can actually bring me to tears. It's a beautiful soft rock ballad song. It was the first single. And As You Lie There is the opening track. It's a lot more adventurous and rocking in its composition. It has some like weird chords that you wouldn't expect from Paul, and starts with some like weird vocals that are almost spoken. And I wasn't sure about it at first, but it goes in so many different directions that it was an adventure of a song to listen to. Home to Us is the duet with Ringo Starr, which is really solid, and Down South is a song where the lyrics detail his youthful pre-fame hitchhiking trips with the teenage George Harrison. And yeah, really great songs. I'm on the border of where to put this between very good and excellent tier. I'm leaning very good now because I think it could just be that it's new that I'm liking it so much, but I could see this going up to an excellent tier if I decide to keep listening to it more, and if it keeps getting better to me on each listen, that's a good sign that it's a long-lasting, excellent album. Next, I want to mention Albion and their album. It was in the month of May 1. The second album by this band from the UK. They're progressive folk metal. They've got progressive rock and Celtic influences, and I'm putting this in my very good tier. I thought their debut album, Lake Songs of Ellende from 2024, was very good as well. I was hoping this could be even better. But if you're a fan of Jethro Tull, definitely check this out. Imagine Jethro Tull, but with a bit more metal sprinkled in. And then there's male and female vocals. It's all clean vocals, though, very folky melodies, harmonies, and chord progressions. But there's the occasional metal guitar lead and chunkiness and flute leads as well. So check that out if that sounds good to you. That's Albion. It was in the month of May 1. Next, I got to mention Impure Wilhelmina with their album Le Sanglot. The 8th album by this band from Switzerland. They're post-metal with atmospheric sludge metal, post-hardcore, alternative, post-rock, and progressive influences. I'm putting this in my very good tier as well. I thought their 7th album, Antidote from 2021, was very good, and I was excited to hear this new one. It's in a similar ballpark to their last one. Big riffs like Mastodon, lyrics are in French. If you're a fan of Mastodon, Cult of Luna, The Ocean, it's like those bands, but a little bit less progressive than those bands and leaning more on the post-metal and sludge side, building more atmosphere and trance-inducing riffs that can be heavy and atmospheric at the same time. That sounds good. Check out Impure Wilhelmina with the Sanglot. Now let's talk about some post-rock with Hammock and their album The Second Coming was a Moonrise, the 15th album by this American band. It's ambient post-rock with shoegaze, and I'm putting this in my very good tier as well. I think it's their 15th album. It's hard to count their discography as well. They have some collaborative albums. And the only album that I've heard by Hammock before was actually their collaborative album with Yellowcard from 2024 called Hopeful Sign. And I thought that collaborative album was good, but it's just reworkings of Yellowcard songs to be in a post-rock style instead of their typical pop punk. So it was hard to rate it highly as a standalone piece of work, as they weren't original compositions. But this new album is more original. It has interesting compositions and emotions and atmosphere in the music. There's occasional vocals here, but the emphasis is on the instrumental atmospheres. And I think I might like this album a bit more if it emphasized the vocals even more, actually. I think the vocals are well done, and I'd like to hear more of them. Fans of Sigur Rós should like this. I'm giving it my very good tier rating because I really enjoyed it. I love the compositions, love the atmosphere, but I'm not sure yet if it's one I'll go back to much. Continuing my very good tier. Wow, we're only like halfway through the albums I want to talk about, but these ones I'm going to be a lot more punchy. So we're hopefully well over 2/3 through the video. But Karfagen with their album OMNI 2 Act 1, The Glass of Time, the 23rd album by this Ukrainian band. It's symphonic progressive rock in my very good tier. This is a Ukrainian project of the prolific keyboard player Anthony Kalugin. He's put out many albums under the name Karfagen, some as Sunchild, some under his own name. And I really liked the trailer on Bandcamp that had the guest vocalist. It sounded like it could be one of the best Karfagen releases I've heard, so I was excited. After listening, I don't think I quite like this as much as the original OMNI album. There are lots of guest vocalists. Most of them do a great job, but something about the album isn't grabbing me and wanting to making me want to come back as much as the initial OMNI album. Great guest vocals, though, from Roy Stolt from Transatlantic and Flower Kings. In particular, his voice is very instantly recognizable. Many of the other guest vocalists are really strong, too, like Marco Gluman from Sylvan and Yogi Lang from RPWL, Jean Pajot from Mystery, probably Jean Pajot. Sorry if I mispronounced your name there, and all the others, too. The playing from all the instrumentalists involved sounds very professional, very solid. There's not much that stands out here as super flashy playing or technical. I might have liked to hear some more keyboard virtuosity pyrotechnics. Of course, there are lots of great catchy and technical keyboard parts, but they're not as in-your-face technical or flashy as what I think Anthony is really capable of doing. These flashy pyrotechnic technical things, I would have actually liked to hear it a bit more. These are more like songs, which is nice as well to hear him write songs, and but I would have liked to hear him just go off and do some of the things that only he could do. Next, I want to mention Dimmu Borgir and their album Grand Serpent Rising, the 10th album by this Norwegian symphonic melodic black metal band. I'm putting it in my very good tier. Very cool symphonic black metal. It's very cinematic while being crushingly heavy and brutal. They remind me a bit of Xanthocroid, but I do like Xanthocroid better because they feature more clean vocals. I feel like that might be what's missing here from Dimmu Borgir. If they had more clean vocals, it would probably make me like them more and give me some hooks, some catchiness, some melody, some harmony in the vocal department. But if you like symphonic black metal, I feel like this band could be a poster child for that style. So definitely check out Grand Serpent Rising by Dimmu Borgir. Then I want to mention Ed O'Brien with his solo album, his second solo album called Blue Morpho. He's an artist from the UK. It's alternative rock with art rock, indie rock, dance, folk, and electronic influences. And this is his second solo album. He, of course, plays guitar and does backing vocals in Radiohead, the legendary band. And I heard the title track from this ahead of time, enjoyed it. That's what made me put it on my list. The whole album is nicely done. It's solid, though I do still prefer his work in Radiohead over this. And I don't think it's quite as good as other Radiohead offshoot project, The Smile. But it's still a cool listen. If you like Ed O'Brien and Radiohead, definitely check out Blue Morpho. Now we're moving down to my good tier. I've just got 4 more albums to talk about, so this video will be over soon enough. But if you like hearing album recommendations, you're in the right place. Let me know down in the comments which of the ones I've talked about you're most excited to hear. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you want to stay in the loop on what I'm listening to, if you like metal, rock, and prog. And let's talk about Violet Grohl and her album Be Sweet to Me, the debut album by this American artist. This alternative rock with grunge and indie rock influences, and I'm putting it in my good tier. Violet is the daughter of Foo Fighters frontman and former Nirvana drummer Dave Grohl, and you can really hear the Foo Fighters and Nirvana influence rubbing off on her. She's got a very alternative rock and grunge and punk vibe to what she's doing, mixed in with some indie rock and pop and power pop. The songs are fun. Sometimes these power pop anthems that sound really cool and have like chantable moments. Some of the songs sound like they could be Foo Fighters B-sides that the band didn't really want. So it's good, but probably not something I'll revisit much. I checked the songwriting credits. I didn't see Dave Grohl anywhere, which I found a bit surprising. I guess she, just being his daughter, can kind of just sound like him in her way of writing, but he wasn't involved when I checked Wikipedia. But Violet Grohl is involved here as a songwriter on these songs, but she also has a lot of other talented people helping her out here. If that sounds good to you, check out Be Sweet to Me by Violet Grohl. Then I want to mention a band from Lithuania. You don't hear too many bands from there, or at least I haven't, but this is a band called Erdve, I guess, Erdve, and the album's called Epigrama. This is sludge metal. It's experimental sludge metal. It's got metalcore, hardcore, black metal, death metal, post-hardcore influences. I'm putting it in my good tier as well. Erdve's on the Season of Mist label, and they're a band I never heard before this, but I got an early preview of this release, which I always appreciate. And it's a nice, heavy album. Not exactly my main style, but definitely respectable. And I think if you like sludge metal, this is one for you. Then I want to mention Through the Fractures with their album Beyond the Scars, the debut album by this French band. It's metalcore with post-hardcore and thrash metal influences, also my good tier. Another nice album. It's more of my style here with metalcore. It's kind of the style of metalcore I really like. It is heavy, it's thrashy, it's got a bit of post-hardcore emo vibes, but Doesn't have enough unique about it to make it stand out from other bands in that scene for me to rate it higher, but I did enjoy it while it was on. Probably good workout music. And last one that I want to talk about in this video is by the band Ellende, and it's an EP called Verborgenes Inneres Leiden. They're from Austria, and this is a cinematic modern classical set of songs. It's just 2 songs, I believe, with new age, dark folk, black metal influences. This band is typically more of like a black metal band, but they're doing a cinematic modern classical EP, which is interesting. It's good, but it's very piano driven, cinematic modern classical. It's got whispered spoken word over top. So it's good for what it is, but it's just 2 tracks and it's not really essential listening. If you're a fan of this band, it's more of like a side quest than anything from their main discography. But I liked their album from earlier this year, so that's what made me check this out. There you go. There's 15 album recommendations. Let me know which ones of these you've heard and what you think of them. Let me know if I've inspired you to check out any of these. And stay tuned for the next one, and peace out.